Welcome to By Faith with Susie and Mike. This program is about regular people who've activated their faith and have done great things for the kingdom of God. When we move, God moves with us. What is God calling you to do today? By faith, obey His voice and enjoy the ride as He does things you could never imagine. Now here's your hosts, Susie and Mike.
Welcome to another edition of By Faith with Susie and Mike. You know, today's show is really critically important because we want to tell you about an event that's coming to SMU on April 24th. It's the March of Remembrance Rally, and it's a rally to honor and remember the Holocaust victims and survivors, and we have two of the survivors here with us today. So Susie, why don't you tell us about our first guest?
We have a very special guest. Her name is Rosianne Zerner. She was 6 years old during the Holocaust. And after that, she went to Italy, stayed there for 6 years, came to America in 1951, got married. She got 2 children and 4 grandchildren. So right now, I would like to introduce to you a beautiful Rosianne. She's beautiful inside and out.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you
Rosianne,
so
tell us, how did you survive the Holocaust?
It's a very long answer that I'll try to make short, because what happened was that when the whole world seemed to be intent on killing Jews, there were some people that came forward and became extraordinary from being ordinary, and they were the righteous ones. And they were the ones who followed their heart, and they followed their religion, and they followed what is now supposed to be called as the rescuer path. And I wish there had been more. It takes about 12 rescuers to rescue a child, because it was always a matter of running and hiding and hoping for the best. I escaped the Kovno ghetto, which became a concentration camp, by having my parents be the first rescuers. They risked their own lives to save me. They timed the guards and the searchlights and the dogs just as they were changing, and they tried to cut a hole under the barbed wire. And they could do just a few bits at a time. But one day, actually, the hole was big enough for a 6-year-old to go by. And again, they risked their lives, and they pushed me through that hole, and I was supposedly saved. And that's how I survived the first part of the ghetto. And then so many people came forward, and so many people denounced me. There's a good people and there are bad people, and I'd like to focus on the good in my life.
You know, when you think of the Holocaust, which was just pure evil, 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, 6 million Jews died, and 3/4 of the people were exterminated in these gas chambers, in the exterminations, in these camps. When you reflect back, I know you probably had so many people that you knew, this kind of evil. Why is it important that the younger generation and generations that come never forget the importance of what happened?
Well, I always say I'm proof that miracles happen. Because when these staggering numbers of murdered citizens of their countries are no longer here to provide the inventors, the artists, the taxi drivers, anybody that was contributing to society, I was chosen to be saved, and I feel blessed. But some people feel guilty about that. And the idea of hatred is so pervasive. There's so many people that have become polarized, and there's so many people who are fragmented inside and outside, trying to follow their education from parents, from the society. And seems to be so chaotic. And whenever there seems to be an issue like that, the Jews become the target for some reason. And we have a command, and the command is Zachor in Lo Tishkach, and that means remember. Remember and don't forget, because that is the lesson that we have imparted to the world, and the world hasn't learned yet. Yeah.
So, Rosianne, have you had any contact with other survivors?
Yes, I have been very active in honoring the victims and the survivors in my tenure. Before coming to Dallas, I was vice president of an organization called the World Federation of Jewish Child Survivors. I did projects like I was instrumental in having a $10 million education bill for Holocaust studies. I did a stamp for one of the rescuers. I mean, my resume, I don't want to give you my resume here, but I'm very much in contact with survivors, even in Dallas, although I'm a newbie here, sort of. And I speak out whenever I can. The survivors are few here, and we're all aging. So I need to speak out because I'm part of the generation that is the last eyewitness to the horrors of this period. And so, yes, I would like to be more in touch with the survivors, but there's a few left, and it's not that prevalent.
Rosianne, you talk about being an eyewitness to what was pure evil, right?
Yes.
One of the important things about this rally at SMU, which you can come with Susie and myself, you can join us, and you can sign up for this at the nathanielfoundation.org. Come out and support, remember, and honor the victims. You were an eyewitness, and you got to see what pure evil was. Here's the amazing thing. Anti-Semitism is on the rise.
Yes.
That's hard to believe.
It is so surreal to me what is happening now. It's just a little over 70 years, and the Holocaust should have been a beacon for change, a lesson to be learned of how not to be. And the world has become so chaotic lately that it's very, I just cannot fathom why it's happening, but 1 out of 4 individuals in the United States has experienced anti-Semitism. Some more than one, some with violence.
What's an example of anti-Semitism when you say that?
Well, I've been blessed because I personally have never experienced it after I was targeted for murder. You know, that's pretty high anti-Semitism. But the anti-Semitism manifests itself with denial of the Holocaust, of anti-Israel feeling, individuals who just want to be violent and have a target, and some that are just simply ignorant of the facts, or had a bad upbringing, or just want to be cruel. And that's what's happening. There's so many other reasons. It's hard to really get them all, but we're the victims again.
Well, this rally on April 24th, which is Sunday, starts from 2 to 5 p.m. at SMU campus. This is all about reconciliation and healing. So could you explain further what does that mean?
Well, again, the Jews are commanded to repair a broken world. It's called Tikkun Olam. And this is part of repairing the world, making the world know that there is evil and there's also goodness. I mean, the people who saved me showed that it is possible to be good. And, you know, Mother Teresa had this say that if you put even one drop of water in an ocean, it will spread and spread and spread. If someone says, I can't do anything, I'm just one person. That isn't so. You can start that drop of water and it goes on and it makes ripples, and there is a potential for hope to change the world, just like in Tikkun Olam. And this March of Remembrance is a symbol of that, because it shows both that we remember and also that there's hope for a better world.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, kindness is what we need to do to each other, loving each other. Kindness is language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. So if you're kind, that's make the world, love makes the world go round. And you cannot love unless you're also kind.
The kindness and the caring for each other, see the other like yourself, and then you'll have a better world. Yeah. So, yeah.
You know, I know one of the key things for the rally is to educate. And like you said, a lot of people, and especially younger generations, don't really realize how dark and how evil this time period was. You know, go back to when you were a child and you were in the concentration camp. Did you think you were going to die?
As a child, I had no comprehension of what was going on, but the fear, the lack of trust, the trauma of it all was there permanently. But the evil is something that I couldn't understand. I mean, this was not a philosophy. This was cruelty. It was sadism. It was killing children. It was with sadism. I mean, some of the things that were done were brutal, that even the Germans sometimes wouldn't participate in, and they got themselves into trouble. So there are good people everywhere, and we have to distinguish, and we have to all rally to make it a better world. And this March of Remembrance is just one of the examples. Last week I was at Texas Christian University, where I was on a panel and I was speaking to the students there, and they are our future. And now we're going to speak at the SMU, and they are our future, and they need to listen and learn and be part of the generation that might change the world for the better.
Did you experience growing up, even here in America, yes, anti-Semitism directly, you know?
Not directly. I've been blessed, truly. I hear so many stories. I hear so many experiences. I look at the headlines, and it's totally incomprehensible that this can be happening, that people have not learned, that people need to be educated. And even with education, some people have such preconceived notions that they become evil without even knowing it.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that touched my heart is I watched one of the countries, a leader, the country during the Holocaust time, you know, was silent, stood back, right? And was really with genuine repentance, sorry, and saying sorry that they were silent, right, when this took place. What can we learn from our history books, the lesson of how important it is? And this Sunday, when you can come out to SMU, this is taking a rally and not being silent and saying, I'm going to honor, I'm going to remember, we're going to educate. But why is it so important not to stand by? Because we have similar things starting to happen right here, again, with Russia, Ukraine. Why is it important to not be silent?
Speaking out for good against evil is being the best that humans can be.
Yeah.
Because that can change the world, and it can change the approach to what is possible. And I hope that the students especially will learn that being silent is not an option. Silence is the opposite of indifference, and indifference to evil is, to me, almost a sin. And having students being part of this march, having even adults who don't know what has happened during those days, is going to be probably a great act of upstander, because the silence is broken. You present the possible and the impossible, and then you go out and to the families, to the friends, and to all that will listen, and just do your part in making it a better world. Yeah.
I love that necklace, by the way. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming on today, and we're going to be right back and talk to another survivor.
It was really clear that he wanted me to do something different.
You don't just believe it, you start to act upon it.
Any of us can do those things.
You don't have to be good enough or worthy enough.
God gives you what you need in that moment if you're willing to accept it.
What if the church actually embraced the Great Commission? We'd flip the world upside down.
Hello, I'm Dr. Victoria Sarvati with the Nathaniel Foundation, and on April 24th at the SMU campus, Dallas Hall, we will be there standing with the Jewish people, marching against hate and discrimination, anti-Semitism, and what divides us. We ask you to come and join us, be with us as we stand shoulder to shoulder and say never again.
Welcome back. I would like to welcome our new guest, Tova Feldman, a Holocaust survivor. She was just a toddler during the Holocaust. So Tova, could you tell us, how did you survive the Holocaust?
First of all, shalom, everybody.
Shalom. Shalom.
I hope you will understand my Texas accent. I was born in Czechoslovakia in 1940. The name of the city was Nitra. My father was a carpenter. He had his own business. And the Germans came first for him. And my mom and us 5 children were still at home because my mom had documents like she would be Hungarian, and the Hungarian Jewish people were taken later. My father was taken to a working camp called Novaki, and meaning working camp. They were building that camp at that time to bring other people in. And my story is really about my family's miracle surviving. Year after my father was already in the camp, the police came for my mom and us 5 children. Then the very first miracle was that we ended in the same camp where my father was. And I don't know exactly how long we were there, but at that camp, we were twice on the list to go to Auschwitz. And twice they took us off the list for my father to continue to work. At one point, the partisans came and forced open the gates and told everybody to run. And we did the same. I just still today don't understand how my parents did it with 5 little kids under the age of 10.
Wow.
Okay, then we also ran away from that camp, and there were a lot of people running different directions.
Were you running with your family?
Yeah, the miracle was that all 5 kids and my parents were together.
Wow.
One Christian family took us in, but we could stay there only for a week because right away we were 7 and it was dangerous for us, for them. Then they let us go.
Tova, where did you go after they let you go?
We were all the time, we were in Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
And my parents were looking for a place to hide. And on the way, they met other people that were doing the same thing. And we were walking towards the woods. And it was winter. And on the way to the woods, there was a carriage and horses going. And my parents asked the guy, let the kids sit on the carriage because we are so young and tired for walking. And he did. And we went with the carriage, and my parents were walking behind. I don't know exactly how far we went. But the next thing that happened, when we got off that carriage, a bomb fell on it. Oh. Then we were survived again.
Wow.
And that's a huge miracle too. Then my story is all miracles. And then somehow, I don't know how, I was too young. When the war ended, I was 5 years old. And we found a bunker in the woods, and other people were there already. And we stayed there for 9 months. And there was one thing very, very stressful there for everybody. There was a newborn there, and the baby crying all the time. And in the woods, the echo is very sharp. Then everybody was stressed. And the other thing I know, that my parents didn't let us take off shoes for 9 months, just in case we need to run. And the way we survived in the woods was the men took turns to go to the nearby villages to beg for food, for everybody. And I don't know if it was most of the time, but sometimes they came back, or potatoes, or onions, or whatever, and the people were sharing. Altogether, we were a little bit over 20 people there all the time. And I don't know how my parents kept us, being quiet all the time, because I don't know, but they did it. I still cannot get over that, how it could be. At one point, one of the men went to one of the villages, and the Germans captured him. Then he couldn't say, I am here just by myself in the woods. Then he needed to tell where everybody is. And 7 or 8 German soldiers with their weapons came up to the bunker and told everybody to get out. And we were staying there like in a circle. And one of the soldiers started to shoot. And he killed the mom and the baby. And all of us standing there watching. And from there, they took us to an empty school building somewhere. And this was already 3 weeks before the war was over. And then they released us. Then we had another long journey to go home. It took us probably 3 weeks to go home to the same place, to the same house. We got there, the house was there, but completely empty. Probably nobody believed we are going to come back. And my father's shop also completely empty. And we started to build our life again. And we were in Czechoslovakia in our house for 4 years. And in 1949, we went to Israel. And the miracle is that all of us, my whole family, were together. Because I come from a very large family. And for example, my father had 6 other brothers. All those 6 brothers came back, but all of their wives and children did not. And only my father came back with his wife and children.
It seems like the hand of God has been with you and your family since the beginning. So God really
was
loved you.
in charge.
Yes, so God is in control.
In
in
control,
our lives.
in charge.
Yes.
And it was a real miracle that it happened the way it happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't we choosing it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that when you talk about a miracle, right? Now we are here all these years later, and you're in Fort Worth, Texas, and on Sunday, April 24th at SMU, there's a rally, right, for the remembrance of the victims and the survivors. And why? So for younger generations, Tova, why is it so important for them? Just like you just told your testimony, you're an eyewitness to evil, one of the darkest periods, the darkest period. And so why is it such a critical thing to go and take a stand like that at SMU on April 24th?
Because a lot of young people don't believe that it really happened. Here I am. I am proof that it happened. And I am proof that God is in charge. It wasn't our choice the way it happened.
What does it make you feel like when you hear somebody say, this didn't happen? What does that make you feel like?
They don't believe in God. Because if they believe, then they will also know that God takes care of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't happen because we were nicer. My other part of the family that got killed were nice people too. Then I see all of our surviving God's hand in it. There is no other way.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen other way.
So, Tova, how did it feel growing up, seeing the actual killing of the mother and the baby? How did it affect you growing up?
I cannot tell. I was too young.
Too young. How old were you
And
at
the
that time?
other thing, in my family, we never talked about anything. Absolutely nothing. But when other people, family, came to our house, what my parents had to talk after the coffee and the cake, all of it was Holocaust. Then I could hear it. But me being so young, cannot tell you that I have a stand in it. I don't.
Well, that's good. Probably that you were very young that time, so it did not really
was.
affect you emotionally.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you hear the staggering numbers now that 6 million Jews were exterminated in gas chambers, in in these horrific ways. 3/4 of the Jewish, I don't think people realize that 3/4 of the population, European Jews, were killed during this time period. When you now look back and you hear those kinds of numbers, what is it just?
I will tell you what I see now. What I see now with the Ukraine and people saying that Putin is crazy, Hitler was crazy too.
Yes.
The only different, I think, the only different now in that war is that they are not really just going after the Jews. That this is the way I see it, but I am not an expert.
Yeah. Susie, you know the lesson that you have to take a stand and you can't be silent. Countries can't be silent when you see evil. So that's something that because I've seen, we talked about this with our previous guest, I've seen countries repent of being silent. And that is, because I know the rally is about reconciliation and healing. And being silent, you are a part of it if you're silent.
So
that's why I am willing to tell my story.
yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's a little bit, no, I'm not going to say it's too late. It's never too late. People need to know and believe in what happened.
Right.
Even if I don't remember everything because I was too young, but it happened.
Yeah.
So what would be your message to the future generation about the Holocaust?
If you don't know about it, learn.
Yes.
Everybody can learn. Doesn't mean you have to go through it or feel it personally, but that's history.
Yes.
That's history. You cannot deny it.
So Tova, you know, the opposite of evil is love. And there's a verse in the Bible that always stuck with me. And here's what it says. And now these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. You know why love is the greatest of these, Susie?
Well, to me,
because at the same time you love, you cannot hate.
yes.
That's right.
Doesn't go together.
That's right. They're polar opposites.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when we get to heaven, right, our faith, watch this, will be our eyes. And our hope, we're hoping the hope will be fulfilled. But in heaven, love remains. So I think it's very interesting that it says that love is the greatest of these. And I think now with anti-Semitism on the rise, and by the way, we have to take a stand against anti-Semitism. It is increasing. Somebody told me a number that just blew my mind. So I don't even want to say the stats that I have because it's much higher. And it is a real problem. Why is it important to take a stand against anti-Semitism?
Because we are proof it happened. We are proof. Then nobody can say, you are not here right now. I am here.
Yeah.
And I went through it.
Yeah.
So growing up in Israel, did you experience any anti-Semitism even in Israel yourself, being there?
Not when I got there. When my family got there in 1949, Israel was 1 year old. And people were busy with building up their families and everything. But what I remember mainly as a child, 9 years old, everybody, absolutely everybody, was on food stamps because there wasn't enough for everybody. And people were busy and hoping for a better life. And when we went to Israel, I remember in Czechoslovakia, the main thing our parents were preparing us for is everybody's going to be Jewish there, and we are not going to go through what we went through already, even without emphasizing. As a 9-year-old, this is what I remember, and this what was important.
So coming here to America, there's a lot of anti-Semitism in different places here in America. So how did you react to that when?
Personally, I still did not feel it. I know it's in the atmosphere. I know it exists.
Well, that's good that you don't have that experience personally.
But
yourself.
I have a lot of Christian friends that love me, and maybe that's why I still did not personally feel it. I know it exists.
And that's why we must take a stand against it. And you know, if you want to come out and join us at the rally at SMU on April 24th, it's going to happen from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Come out for this rally, and we'll take a stand against anti-Semitism. We'll also educate. It's about education. It's about reconciliation. And it's also about honoring and remembering both the victims and the survivors. And we have an eyewitness survivor with us right now. You know, look into the camera there. Just tell people as we wrap up today, why is it so important when you think about gathering and coming to a rally together? Why is it so important to do that?
It's important to show that we, the people that are still alive, have something to tell you that really happened.
Yeah, that's it.
So we would like
ignore that.
Yeah.
So we would like to really ask you to please come Sunday, April 24th, 2 to 5, SMU campus. We also need volunteers. So please go to the website, thenathanielfoundation.org, and please sign up, because Operation Care International is partnering with Nathaniel Foundation, so we could have this march, and it will be an amazing time to remember the Holocaust, the survivors, and how, oh my, these are my heroes of this day. I mean, I could not imagine how they have survived this, and I'm glad that Tova does not really have a lot of emotional probably results out of that, because she was so young. So please come and hear more amazing stories on that day. 2 to 5, April 24, Sunday, SMU campus. Sign up at thenathanielfoundation.org to volunteer. We need your help.
You will get it.
See you next time on By Faith with Susie and Mike.